when I was handling the buying part of the business, I think the one category that I didn't have any output was handbags. That was all the buyers. But what I noticed during 2008, 2009, when the financial meltdown happened, I've noticed that while all categories in the store went down by 20, 30, 50, 60%, the only category maintained same and even went up a little bit was handbags and accessories, which was very interesting at the time.
Hi, and welcome to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast with your host, Emily Blumenthal, handbag industry expert and the handbag fairy godmother. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the handbags we love, from the iconic brands and top designers to the creativity, craftsmanship, and culture that define the handbag world. Whether you're a designer, collector, or simply passionate about handbags, this is your front row seat to it all. Welcome, Shy Iland of Daisy Rose, to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so we were just discussing, you and I connected on LinkedIn, which, as I tell my students, that's where the old people hang out. So that's where the humble brags happen. Like, oh, I'm pleased to let everybody know that I'm amazing and had a promotion and blah, blah, blah. So I'm happy I was able to find, or we were able to connect there. Your company is called Daisy Rose, and you were just telling me the origin of the name.
Yes, when I was looking for the right name, I came up with the Daisy Rose, which Daisy was the name of my late grandmother, and Rose is the name of my mother. So Daisy Rose it is.
Was your family initially in handbags?
No, not at all, actually. I'm originally from Israel. I moved to New York many years ago, before 2000, and I started working in random jobs. And then my relative, he owned one boutique store called Big Drop. And
Right, right. I forgot. Yes. You almost made me spit my water out. Yes, Big Drop was the place for independent designers. Literally one of the hardest stores to get picked up in. I remember.
yes, so I joined him along the way. When he intended to expand and open more stores, I was the one who found and opened the Big Drop in West Broadway, and then Upper East Side, Madison. We even expanded into to Miami, South Beach.
I remember.
At the time, the 𝐾𝐚𝐬𝐳 Hotel. Today is the One Hotel, and yeah, those were the good old days, early 2000s.
That was the heyday. I discovered like Rebecca Minkoff, Monica Bachir, Grayson. I got to go through my book to look at all the names of all the at that time. Like that's where they were all. It was like it was Verve and Big Drop. That was it.
Yes,
Those
it
two
was
stores.
it was pre-e-commerce. So when you wanted to see what the eat bag is or what the hottest denim are, you had to actually walk into the store and see what they have. You
Yep.
couldn't compare, you couldn't browse, you just had to go and see what you have. Like you said, everybody wanted to be in the stores. We specialize in contemporary designers. We basically were willing to meet anybody that wanted to show their designs, what they have, and we were very picky about who we brought in, and we really liked finding up and coming designers who looked for, the first place to basically display their goods.
Yeah. No, you guys, I'm sorry for interrupting. You guys were truly pioneers. I mean, the independent designer boutique, like that was the heyday. Like that was the time where if you were a new designer, like getting into Barney's was almost as important as getting into Big Drop. It was like they were both aligned with the same value and carried the same weight.
Yes, we felt it too. I mean, around, for example, Fashion Week, where everybody came to New York, either for buying or for the trade shows, we saw everybody in the stores. Everybody visited to see what's in there. what Big Drop carried at the time. And all the designers, they wanted to be there so they can also drop name and say, hey, we're at Big Drop. Those were the good old days. We worked hard, to build a buying office that was second to none. Team of buyers, assistant
Yeah,
buyers, analysts, budget. We visited all showrooms, all trade shows, domestic and international. We accepted appointments from everybody. We were
right.
ahead of the game at the time.
I always say to be a pioneer is expensive because to take on new things, you run the risk of things not working out, and especially dealing with newer designers, you run into so many headaches from delivery issues to quality issues to them not showing up to, and then you're the one who has to like almost train all these new people on protocol to be in a boutique.
Yes, yes, it's very challenging. You have to manage a lot of things, and at the end of the day, you're in between employees. When you have so many stores, you have to make sure that you bring the right people, and then you have the buying team, and you have to handle all the buying and seeing everybody. Very complicated rents, dealing with landlords and real estate and trade shows and traveling. There's a lot of things going on running a boutique, a chain as well, because fashion is so, you buy 4, 5, 6 months in advance. The good thing about it is, in May what's going to be sold in wintertime, in September, October. So
And
you're
that's
ahead of
so
the game.
right.
And it gives you a benefit to know the trends, know what's coming, but also to recognize voids in the market. And I think we're really good at that.
So that probably took you, if I remember, till like 2007, 2008, that whole like rush of everything. And then by the time like 2008, 2009 hit, and then when the market dropped, like things absolutely took, I don't
Crashed,
like saying took a turn for the worse, but things started to change because I
rushed.
remember back in the day when I was selling my bags to boutiques and I put my website on my hang tag, and that's such chaos. Like, no, you can't do that. And then if you got press, like you had to be very specific with which channels of distribution. So you couldn't list your website. You had to list two stores, and there was no guarantee if they list the stores. And then it made things complicated. And then with the advent of social media, like it didn't make the boutique irrelevant. It made the boutique have to work 10 times harder to keep.
Yes, I think the introduction of e-commerce, the early days took a big toll on retail because you had competition, but it was an unfair competition because the amount of traffic that they can get is not the amount of traffic you can get. I mean, we're in New York, you get a good amount of traffic, but imagine boutiques in Ohio or Texas. It's tough. It's tough. And you can compare, you can see if it's on sale or it's not. So retail, you had to actually go into e-commerce, but it's totally different business. So
Right.
it's like running two separate businesses at the same time. Those were, yeah, I think that together with the economy at 2008, 2009, those were the difficult years for boutiques, especially for us as well. I think at the time, our revenue dropped within 6 months by 60 to 70%. We had to shut down stores,
Oh my God. That's
let employees go. Yeah, it was brutal.
so at which point you're running this business with a cousin, I
Yes, second
think.
cousin.
And at
Yes.
which point, who called it? Who was like, oh yeah, it's always the cousin. At which point, who called it? Who was like, that's it, we're done? Or were you like, that's it, I'm going home? Who called it? And then who was the first one to go?
I think I felt burned throughout that process because I had to deal with all the vendors. I had to basically, it's people that you had a relationship with, brands and salespeople that you had to call and say, hey, that order that I placed 3, 4 months ago, I'm gonna have to cancel it because our budget shows that we can't bring in any more goods in your category. So you have to go and burn personal relationships and you had to let go of employees. You had to have negotiations with landlords about rents and shut down stores. It was a very difficult period at the time that at some point I just came to him and I said, listen, I can't do this anymore. I think I'm gonna stay until the ship is stable, until you can keep going, whatever it takes. But once it's done, I'm out.
I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm
I'm
out.
done with retail. I don't want to do retail anymore. And it took about a year or so. I think end of 2009, we closed 2 stores. We had a huge office slash showroom and warehouse that we shut down. We moved into a much smaller office at the sub basement of our Spring Street location, which is the most famous one. Once that was done, I said, thank you. And that's it for me. And when I was thinking about what would be my next move, I said that would be something that I'm not going to be tied down to a certain location. I'll be able to do it from anywhere in the world.
Was it complicated? Because I've had a lot of people like on the podcast and designers I know that have gone into business with family members, with siblings, with mothers, with fathers. I mean, the stories I've heard that my father and I didn't speak for years. My father made me father and I had holidays together and we didn't even acknowledge each other and we had to fake it for our kids so my kids could have cousins, like the stories. So how did it end up with your cousin and second cousin, still a cousin, but how did you leave things saying, okay, I'm out, I'm done, and I'm gonna start something new and you're probably not gonna be involved?
Yes, when we started, we were very close. We did everything together. And yeah, throughout the years, I mean, it became more business than personal. And towards the end, it was unpleasant. It's tough. I mean, I always say that selecting a partner is like selecting a spouse, you know? You have to know who you're going into partnership with, and it's tough to let go. And I think at the time he got hurt that I'm leaving him with everything behind, but I did my part, and I stayed as long as everything was stable and he could keep running the business. But it was something that I just had to do for myself. So yeah.
That is so hard. It's like you feel this like emotional, moral responsibility, but then it's like, I'm going to crack. I will physically break if I stay. I don't even want to be here. I can't even like go there anymore. New beginning because, you went there as just something to do and you accidentally stayed significantly longer. So to go through in your home for so long and say, oh shit, now what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, you're 100% correct. I mean, this is exactly what it was. You feel obligated, and at the end of the day, that is your baby. That is the business that you put sweat and tears into. When you have a business, you don't go home at 7 or 8 p.m. and say, that's it. You keep working, or you go to business meeting, or you think about the next day and what you're gonna do. It never ends, and it's 24/7 all year round. And the decision to let go and leave this thing is a very difficult decision, which came after significant consideration. But at the end of the day, it was the right thing for me to do at the time, to move on and start fresh with new energy and find something that I'm passionate about and start building it from scratch.
How in the world did you come up with handbags after running such a powerful boutique and seeing the business and seeing the drama and seeing the nightmares that handbag designers go through? What made you be like, hey, that looks fun?
If you ever wanted to start a handbag line and didn't know where to start, this is for you.
Living proof that independent designers can make it big.
Absolutely, Blumenthal is one prime example.
If you had dreams of becoming a handbag designer and didn't know where to start, this is for you. If you have a handbag brand and are in need of strategy and direction, this is for you. I'm Emily Blumenthal, handbag fairy godmother and handbag designer expert, and this is Handbag Designer 101, the masterclass. Over the next 10 classes, I will break down everything you need to know how to make, market, and manufacture a handbag. Broken down for you that you'll not only skip steps in that handbag building process, but also save money in that learning curve. For the past 20 years, I've been teaching at the top fashion universities in New York City, created the Handbag Awards, and also the Handbag Designer 101 podcast. I'm going to show you like I have countless brands from sketch to sample to shelf, whether you're just starting out and don't know where to begin, or even if you have a handbag line and just need some strategic direction, the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass is just for you. So let's get started, and you will be the creator of the next it bag. Join me, Emily Blumenthal, with the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass.
That's a good one. When I was handling the buying part of the business, I think the one category that I didn't have any output was handbags. That was all the buyers. But what I noticed during 2008, 2009, when the financial meltdown happened, I've noticed that while all categories in the store went down by 20, 30, 50, 60%. The only category maintained same and even went up a little bit was handbags. Handbags and accessories, which was very interesting at the time. But I think what it was is that you can carry a handbag multiple times versus a blouse that you wore once, twice, three times until everybody saw you with, and that's done. So I think that was what it was at the time that made me think, "Hmm, handbags." I think it was that and the fact that there are no sizes and fit to handbags. It's a handbag. And that was what made me say, okay, I think this is going to be my direction. And I thought about, the idea was to create a company where you can come to help you produce bags in high quality while maintaining low costs. And that was the idea, but there were basically three issues. One, I didn't have any factories. Two, I didn't know anything about handbags. And three, I had no customers looking for handbags. So that was at the time.
Right.
But I had a lot of people I knew from my past, and I found out that there's a big trade show in China twice a year where all manufacturers, basically, not all, but a lot of manufacturers show their manufacturing capabilities. So I flew to the trade show, I took a notebook with me, and I passed booth by booth, and I found out, different manufacturers, each one specializing in a different category or different material or have other abilities. And it just created a network of factories that I can at least start with. I picked up the ones I thought were good or had what I was looking for. I developed a range of samples, different categories, different materials, and went back to the US and start showing them and talk to people. And that's how it started, basically.
I have so many questions. Okay, because I got this very sage advice 100 years ago when I was an intern at an ad agency, where someone from ESPN said to me, because I was so eager to be on the sales side, because the sales side is so glamorous, right? Because those are the ones who go out, they go door to door. They're the ones who look to be the one who's selling. He said, you would never open up a clothing store if you didn't know how to shop. And until you understand the mind of a buyer, then you have no business creating anything to sell. So I'm so curious, what was the trade show? Because I know my listeners will want to know. How did you, and also, this is just you. So what was a trade show? How did you determine the aesthetic? How did you know that aesthetic would still be on trend? And how did you really hone in on who your customer really was? because I'm necessarily the person in Miami and isn't the same person in Cincinnati. So how did you hit all that from the start? Sorry, it's a lot.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of aspect into this, but running a buying office for so many years and seeing so many designers and brands coming and going, see who survived and who didn't, see what sold and what didn't, what price point, what material. The advantage that I had at the time was I had the retail mind going into manufacturing. So I had an advantage because when I was looking into it, I was looking at it as a buyer. So and doing it again for so many seasons, ahead what's coming, what the cycle is, because fashion is a cycle. The same trends come every few years, they're coming back like fringe. It can be hot today and in 3-4 years hot again. This is how fashion works. So going into that trade show in China at the time, I was actually looking for manufacturing abilities for what I've known. Who can, I think the thing in China, and especially, is you can always find cheaper. It's much harder to find quality manufacturers, quality materials. It's much more difficult. And trying to recognize who can do things that I've seen before in other designers doing, or a certain bag that sold really well for us. Who from all these people would be able to produce something like it? And I think that was my guideline at the time. Who my customer would be wasn't very clear, because I didn't know if it'll be if I'll have a customer looking for a PU bag for $7-8 or a leather bag for $50-60. So I've created a range of samples from that end and to that end. And I was just, whoever looking for a customer, whoever going to bite on something, just give it to them. It's very similar to buying or retail. When you look at the collection, you buy a few pieces from that collection and from that group and from this group. And when you see what the customer buys, that's where you go deep and you buy more of that or bring them more.
How did you determine your DNA with having seen so many designers and saying, okay, I'm not going to be the person who put something out there that someone else did, right? As someone who wants to remain authentic, wants to remain, develop your own brand that people will say, okay, I know that this would go back to Daisy Rose. How are you able to say this is our look that isn't necessarily what someone else did?
At the time, Daisy Rose, the idea of Daisy Rose was manufacturing, wasn't the brand. And I think it's different. A few years later, I've created private label Daisy Rose, which is sold online. That's when I think, from my experience, any business, the DNA is determined. It's a process, because when you start with an idea, it doesn't mean that necessarily that's going to be the brand or the company. It gravitates, it changes. It depends what your customer wants. And that's when you focus towards that direction. For example, if you think you'll be selling a lot of leather bags, and suddenly you have more customers looking for wallets, then your focus is going to shift into wallet at the time. So the idea that I have is creating a wide range of products, from leather to PU bags, from leather wallets to PU wallets, or fashion accessories, keychains, backpacks, computer sleeves, a wide range of items. So when a customer gravitates towards something, I'm able to give them the solution and help them develop.
Wow. This is so is Daisy Rose started off as private label and then you've evolved into being your own brand?
It started as a production company that helped other brands and department stores produce private label. That's how it started. It's the core of the business. A few years later, and that's an interesting story. around 2017, 2018, I said, I'm producing so many things. I think I can combine, my buying and manufacturing and create a brand and start selling on Amazon. And, at the time, it wasn't as saturated as it is today. One of my factories called, I was selling some items, and one of my factories called me and said, listen, a customer ordered 10,000 wallets with certain print, and I'm stuck with it. Do you have a customer that can sell them? And I said, you know what? Why don't you send me 500 pieces, and I'll check with my customers. And I checked. There wasn't a lot of interest in it. And I said, I think at the time, around 300 pieces of it. I'm just going to send it to Amazon FBA and see what happened. And started selling little by little. And then one morning, I woke up and it was sold out. I was like, wow. And from selling 5, 6 pieces a day into 200 pieces overnight. I produced 500 pieces, kept them, again, sold 5, 6 a day. And then one morning I wake up, all sold out again. I didn't realize what hit me. I didn't know what happened. And a few days later, we received a message from a customer saying, hey, I saw that wallet that such and such influencer posted. Do you have more of it? And we asked her, who is this person? Who is this Instagram account? And she sent us this account, and we found out that that influencer bought one wallet and she posted it. And every time she posted it, it was just sold out. So that's how the private label kicked out. And we just produced more and more items and grow it into the brand that it is today. We sold on Amazon, Walmart, and our own Shopify, daisyRose.com.
Wow. Wow. This is like the coolest evolution story. I think it's really inspirational. And what was the trade show you went to in China? Just so everybody knows what it's called.
It's the Canton Fair. It's the biggest
Okay.
trade show in China. It's twice a year. It's end of April and end of October. There are 3 phases. The phase for bags and fashion is the 3rd phase, which is the first week of May and the first week of November.
Okay.
It's huge. It's huge. If anybody goes there, it's 5 days. It goes 5 days. There's no way you can finish walking all of it in 5 days. It's huge.
Oh my God.
It's
Oh
huge.
my
I mean,
God.
think 𝐃𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐬 or 𝐸&K at the time, multiplied
God.
by 30 or 40 or 50.
Oh my God. So I think there's so many lessons to take away from this, that I think that it is possible to actually create a brand and reverse engineer and take your time into developing something and testing the waters and really seeing if there's traction, momentum, interest, and then finding a good manufacturing partner who is open to working with you. But I think these factories, as I've spoken many times, they will be more inclined to work with you if you know how to work with them. But if you go to them not knowing how factories work, what they're looking for, what terms are, all of that stuff, you will be treated a much different way. You will be charged a much different way. Your samples will cost you significantly different because they know they're dealing with someone green and new. So I think this is such an educational episode that we're having together, because it really speaks to, without all that buying experience, there's absolutely no way you would have known how to design into something that has the opportunity to sell, and more importantly, to sell at mass, especially with all the tariff issues and all that nonsense, that there's always a workaround. You just have to figure out the right way to do it.
Absolutely. I think most manufacturers don't understand brands, and most brands don't understand manufacturing. I think I sit in the middle. I'm basically the bridge between the idea and the execution. And, it's a big part of what I learned in the process. I think that, most people think that, hey, I have a great idea. I'll make a sample and I'll start selling it, where, in reality, it's wrong materials, wrong color, wrong pricing, wrong factory, delays, quality issues, frustration, and then it's not selling. There's so much going into it that when you start, you need somebody experienced, somebody that knows what they're doing, and you have to do your research. It's not as simple as
Yes.
it used to be. I think the market is saturated. Everybody's done almost everything. You have to be
Right.
really good
Yes.
or really special to make it out there today in today's environment.
Yes. Shy, how can people find more about Daisy Rose, find you, follow you, and get their hands on your products before an influencer does and it sells out?
Blow that. Well, our items are sold on daisyrose.com, on Amazon, and on Walmart under Daisy Rose Bags. Our Instagram is Daisy Rose Bags. And we also have, for our manufacturing capabilities, we have daisyrosefactory.com, which showcased our factory and our capabilities, manufacturing capabilities in China.
That's amazing. This is so helpful. I know people that are obsessed with bags and people who want to make bags will really enjoy this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, Shy.
Thank you, Emily. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate and review and follow us on every single platform at Handbag Designer. Thanks so much. See you next time.